Love and the Pack carved up the Lions. Were the Pats even trying? The Bills and Eagles got soaked. Once again, the Vikings choked. And there goes the Panthers with their firing. Welcome to the Mishpo. All right, everybody, welcome into the week 12 episode of the Mishpo. Yeah, things were pretty exciting last week. Packers are looking good, and the rest of the NFC North is not. So that bodes well for us. So yeah, we're just gonna jump into it. Obviously, we are past the trade deadline, and so there are no trades to go over. And so we'll just jump right into last week's matchups. And so without further ado, I will share my screen and we'll begin. All right. First up, we've got me versus Sam, two of the bottom two teams in this league, I would say. Oh, this is not updated score wise. So we will refresh because I knew I had more than 90 points. All right. This is week 13. All right. Week 12, first matchup, me versus Sam. Otherwise known as the biggest blowout of the week. I just had some pretty good performances from Andre, newly acquired, fresh off the bye. Very good stuff from him. DJ Moore continues to be good. Hawkinson, a bit of a down game, but still pretty solid. Zay Flowers found the end zone not once, but twice. James Cook should have found the end zone, but he still had a pretty solid game. And, the rest of my guys are pretty adequate as well. Sam, on the other hand, not so great. Let's look at some of the guys I traded to him for a trade we made earlier. Miles Sanders, not great, 2.8 points. Rashad White, 13 points, a bit actually, I would say, down for him. He's been doing pretty good this season so far. The RB6, which is kind of surprising. He's just getting a ton of work. So good stuff. And yeah. Alan Lazard bench, that was kind of fun. Interesting to see. So yeah, I mean, not much more to say about this game. I did have Tucker Kraft on my bench. Not sure if people saw I made some moves, pick up Tucker Kraft and Jeff Wilson, both of them pretty solid. We'll see how they go moving forward. And A.T. Perry, I might have already had him, but yeah, that was a pretty fun matchup for me. Obviously, I'm not playing for anything anymore, but it was nice to finally get a victory. But that was kind of inevitable since I was playing Sam. No offense, Sam. So next matchup is Caleb versus Brian. Also not that close of a matchup, but a bit closer than myself and Sam. And Caleb pushes himself back to even on the season. Pretty good performances. Bijan did real well. Tony Pollard did real well. Mike Evans did real well. And he just had some other guys that did solid, but not real well. On the other hand, Hunter Henry got 0 points, so that's not great. The Denver defense got 19. Very good stuff over there. And then just a couple other decent performances, but was not enough to get the win for Brian here. He falls to 7-5, and like I said, Caleb moves up to 6-6 on the season. So making a playoff push for Caleb. I'm not quite sure if he's in the playoffs right now or not. We'll see what he is ranked. It doesn't say it on the screen here, but it does say it when you look at the standing or the league. So he's number 8 seed. So he's just on the brink of the playoffs. And just for reference, the 6th seed is Lincoln, who's also 6-6. So it's just down to points. Lincoln has 1,424.45 and Kale is 1,305. So about 140, 135 points behind. So it does have a bit of work to do. He's probably more likely banking on having a better record. But yeah, that's a good move in the right direction for Caleb. Our next matchup is Michael versus T-Corn, two of the top teams in the league. The number 1 seed in Michael, obviously. And then T-Corn is the number 3 seed. So two of the top 3 teams. in the league here. And I will just spoil. It is also two of the top three teams in the power rankings. Um, Michael just ekes away with this victory here, 6 points, about indifference. Justin Fields was Tigran's last hope, but he could not, pull off the victory. I wonder if Justin Herbert would have done the job for him. Um, he would have. I mean, he didn't do much better, but he had 13.38. So if you add 5 points, well, maybe not actually. I don't know. Maybe T-Corn just doomed to lose. Christian McCaffrey, though, did pretty well for him, and so did Jonathan Taylor, but now he's going to be out for a while, unfortunately, for Michael. Kind of good for me, though. Good thing, I mentioned it in the chat. When you're seeing this yesterday, because that's when I'm recording, but Jonathan Taylor, I've traded him away twice in this league, and both times he was injured within like a week or two. So that is a bad trend for that. We'll see if it ever happens again. But yeah, not good stuff. But there were some other good stuff players score wise, like Amon Ra and Tyreek both had very solid scores. So did CD Lamb. And some other good stuff around. But yeah, Michael got the victory just barely. So he returns to that winning streak. 11-1 on the season. T-Corn 8-4. Moving us on to a pretty high scoring matchup, Fiala versus State Farm. Fiala, the second best team in the league. And then State Farm is right in there. Or sorry, not State Farm, Abby. The Knackers names threw me. Before this week, she was in the playoffs, and with this loss, she's unfortunately on the outside. She has dropped down to 7, so she is just behind the Lincoln. Same record, just back by about 70 points. So, should make for an interesting final 2 weeks of the regular season. Of course, pretty good scores here. Josh Allen, 40 points, so real good stuff for him. A lot of it on the ground, actually, so that's fun. Rashid Rice, very good. Pittman and Cooks did very good at receiver. Not tight ends, this flex spot here, very solid with Olave and Deebo Samuel, both doing very good work. And the defenses actually did pretty solid. Dallas, which is expected, but Pittsburgh, you wouldn't really expect that. But they were playing Jake Browning and the Cincinnati Bengals, so maybe that is to be expected. So good win there by Fiala. I'm sure he's a certain lock for the playoffs. So, just gonna see if he can take that number 1 seed or not. Moving us on to our next matchup, Lincoln and Adam. Two teams, I would say, on opposite trajectories here. Adam started the season off very hot, and as of late has been doing quite poorly. I don't know if he's on a losing streak, or yeah, he's what we call he's got what going for him, what we call the Joey, which is a 4-game losing streak. So that's not great for him. Lincoln, on the other hand, just a 1-game winning streak. But he is currently in the playoffs. Was on the outside a few weeks ago, but is currently the 6th seed. So as long as he keeps winning and scoring decent points, he presumably will claim that spot in the playoffs there. A couple scores we'll point out. Dak has been going off lately. The running backs pretty solid over here for Adam. The wheels may have fallen off the Josh Dobbs train. 4 interceptions will do that to a guy. And not even passing 200 yards against the Bears. So not great stuff. Devonta Smith over here for Lincoln, pretty good. And Nico Collins both scoring 23 points, 23.6 and 23.4 to be exact. So pretty good. And then 3 out of the 4 flex plays for both of these guys were pretty solid. Obviously, Raheem Mostert, 21.4, very good. 17.4 for Garrett Wilson after the negative score he had last week. So nice bounce back there. AJ Brown, 14.7. Obviously, you're probably looking for a bit more than that. At least he wasn't Adam Thielen, though, who only had 1.2, one catch for 2 yards for him. And then the defenses did very good, especially Miami, throwing down a 25 burger in this matchup. Lincoln destroys Adam. Even though Adam scored pretty good, Lincoln had the highest score on the week, which will move us on to Colin versus Bruce. Bruce, I believe, is locked in, if I had to guess, that 4 spot. Yeah, Bruce is the 4 seed at 7-5, so pretty good stuff for him. That win really helped out. He does have a massive amount of points as well, probably top 3 if I had to guess. But yeah, Colin, on the other hand, really kind of needed this win to have any shot at making playoffs. But with 2 weeks left, he's 2 games back. So maybe not in the cards for him this season. And just point total also about 200 something behind Lincoln. Maybe not quite that much, but it's 1,200 something to 1,400 something. So I think it's safe to say Colin is essentially eliminated from playoffs unless he absolutely goes off. And everybody's 6-6, or 6-6, 5-7. If they lose out, he's got a shot. But seems like he'll be joining me in the losers bracket. Anyway, did have some good performances. Jalen Hurts, very solid stuff from him. Jerome Ford, not too bad. Collins running backs, pretty even between the two of them, both scoring 8.4. Obviously looking for a bit more from Eckler and even Brian Robinson for that matter. He's the RB5 on the season, so he's been doing pretty good. But we got some real good performances over here from Bruce. So Steph Diggs, 19.4, the waiver wire sensation, Sam Laporta, 17.7, so real good from him. Tank Dell, 17.2, so I mean pretty good stuff, and it doesn't help Colin that his defense scored negative. Jacoby Myers finally had a good game, but it was not enough to defeat Bruce. So yeah, Bruce handily won that matchup, which will bring us on to the last matchup of the week, which is State Farm, actually this time, and Matt. And Matt got another win for himself. He's creeping up on me for standing wise. He's 1 game back from me, and he's 12 or 11 points behind. So I mean, not that it really matters that much, but I mean, it would be nice if I could be like the 7 seed or something in the playoff, the toilet bowl, go up against Sam again, and had just an easy out from that. Avoiding Sacco would be cool. So these quarterbacks did pretty solid. Trevor Lawrence and Kyler Murray. And I think it's safe to say both of these teams are, well, Matt definitely out of the playoffs at 3-9, but State is just 1 game back from that playoff spot. So if he goes on a 2-0 run, can sneak in potentially, and does have a solid amount of points, actually more than Lincoln. So if he can score well and get some other games to go his way, State could find himself in the playoffs. So definitely stuff for him to play for. And he does have the guys to do it, like I mentioned, Kyler Murray, but also Derrick Henry, 20.6. We all know he does better at the end of the season once it gets cold. On the other hand, or other side, though, Matt's running backs had a heck of a game. Isaiah Pacheco, 25.9, but that wasn't even the best of his 2 because Kyron Williams, 38.4, so real good stuff. Keenan Allen and Jalen Waddle over here for State, however, of the 2 of the wide receiver starters between the teams, definitely had the head up, 21.6 and 19.4 for those 2 guys. And the flex, also pretty solid stuff. 21.9 from Ridley. So maybe he's resurging. So we'll see how State can play these next 2 weeks, but I definitely wouldn't count him out. Obviously, it'll just depend on who he is facing. But Matt did come away with the victory here. Second most points scored, I believe, on the week. And before we jump in, before we jump into the power rankings, I'm going to take a quick sip of my giant water jug. Not sure if anybody has seen this, but it is freaking massive. So, the power rankings going into I believe. Yeah. So, we'll start, of course, from the bottom. We've got 14 Sam, 13 Colin, 12 Matt, 11 State, Joey at 10, Adam 9, Caleb 8, Brian 7, Abby 6, Lincoln 5, Bruce 4, T-Corn 3, Fiala at 2, and of course, number 1 is Michael. So we'll jump into a very important week 13, and there are a lot of bye weeks. Very important teams on bye. I cannot quite remember bye week 13. We'll see if I can get a list real quick. Baltimore Ravens, Buffalo Bills, Chicago Bears, Minnesota Vikings, New York Giants, and Las Vegas Raiders. So, very important teams on bye this week. So, yeah, that's to keep in mind. I definitely had to make some lineup adjustments. And so we'll start with my matchup versus Colin. Both teams, both of us at 4-8. Obviously, not really a chance to make the playoffs for either of us. 1442.72 points for me, and Colin 12.8 point 1280.62 for him. So I'm ahead by quite a amount of points, but record wise the same. We got some quarterbacks here. Russ and Herbs both have been playing pretty good lately, especially Russell Wilson. Well, maybe not, but they've been winning, so that's probably all he really cares about. Austin Eckler, though, has not been great, and I guess Brian wasn't great last week either. I am playing a few scrubs, though. A.T. Perry, I'm hoping for a few points from him. Not a scrub necessarily. Jonathan Mingo had 10 last week. Hoping for a bit more. You're in a tricky situation when you're starting 2 Carolina Panthers, which is my situation. Chuba, obviously, playing. He had a good week actually last week, so I'm hoping we can get a replication of that. Zach Moss over here for Colin. With the Jonathan Taylor news, he was able to snag him up, and so you can kind of see some scores that he had when Jonathan Taylor was not playing. All but one above, well, he had 17.9, which is pretty close to 20, but all but one around or above. But he's got the situation where, and he's got D-Hop too. So these two guys going up against each other. This guy is going up against his defense, Chuba. I don't know why I said Chuba. But I've kind of got a similar situation. Romeo is going up against the Chiefs defense. Also, Tucker Kraft. I'm playing 2 Packers as well. So, um, you know, it should be a fun matchup. Again, not really. Nothing matters too much. Oh, and just to point out, some guys on by. Maybe we'll play Jeff Wilson. We'll see. But some guys on by for both of these teams. We got Lamar Jackson, Leonard Fournette, and Jacoby Myers and Cole Kmet for Lincoln. And then some big hitters for me. We got TJ Hawkinson, Zay Flowers, DJ Moore, and James Cook. So this is probably for me the biggest bye week. Luckily, it comes at a time where it doesn't super matter that much. I'm not super hopeful that I will do great against in this matchup here. Colin's team isn't the best, but he definitely has guys that can perform. But you know what? I'm still going to go with myself. I was thinking maybe we'll go with Colin, but no, I'll go with myself here. Moving on to Caleb versus Lincoln, a very important matchup for the two of them, both sitting at 6-6. And as I mentioned before, Lincoln is that 6th seed. Dak has been absolutely firing on all cylinders lately. It's kind of like Bijan, who's been getting the appropriate amount of work. So I'm sure both teams are happy with their respective players doing good things. And then there's just other, very star-studded lineups here for both of these teams. It should be a pretty exciting matchup. Obviously, like I said, lots of playoff implications here. Bye week, though, Latavius Murray for Lincoln probably doesn't matter that much. Kincaid matters a bit. Ty Chandler, maybe not so much. So not too terribly affected. And then Chicago, again, not too terribly affected by the buys for Caleb. The Eagles defense is probably better, but they're going up against San Francisco, so that'll be tough. This is going to be a tough, fun, high-scoring probably matchup potentially. And I'm gonna go with Lincoln here. He's just got the momentum. I know it's just a one-game winning streak, but I mean he's got the pieces to definitely take down another win, which will move us on to Michael versus Brian. Two very good teams, two teams in the top, 7 in my power rankings, but in actuality, it's like two top 6 teams, two top 5 teams. So bye week, though, we've got Khalil Shakir, sorry, sir, over here for Michael. Doubtful Jonathan Taylor, so he probably won't play. Not a bye, but missing the game nonetheless. Aaron Rodgers, recently acquired by Brian, is still out, so I'm sure he will be not playing. And then we do have some heavy hitters. OBJ, not as big of a hitter, but Devontae Adams. Last couple weeks have been quite good ever since they got rid of that guy in Vegas there. I can't quite remember his name. Josh McDaniels, there it is. So, with all of that said, it's maybe not going to be as close as others think, but I'm going to be going with Michael. He's just got some guys who can absolutely explode for 20, 25, maybe even 30 points. I mean, Tyreek has probably been in the 40s at points this season. Yep, week 1, there we are, 44. I guess it was just the once, but he's consistently very good, all double digits, and many, many times in the 20s. So I expect Michael to win this again, which will bring us on to Fiala versus Sam. I mean, Fiala's, number 2 in the league. Sam is number 14. But, you've got some guys over on Sam that have scored some points. So it may not be as clear cut as others think. However, just kind of looking at these teams here, we do have Josh Allen on bye, and Roshan Johnson, and Khalil Herbert, and Keaton Mitchell for Fiala. So quite the bye week for him. And just Nelson Aguilar for Sam. So not quite as affected, but I still think Fiala's got the superior team. Got that Jordan Love, Christian Watson stack. And I certainly hope they go off this week. He could have a nice performance from that Sunday Night Football game should Travis Kelce need to get involved if the Packers can score quite a bit. So we'll see how that all shakes out. But yes, I will be picking Fiala in this matchup. Bruce in State up next. Bruce doesn't really need to win, probably would like to. And then State, on the other hand, definitely needs a victory here to continue his playoff dreams. Otherwise, it will be very, very unlikely, I would say, to make it for him. Quick check for buys. We have Alexander Madison over here for State and the Baltimore defense. And then for Bruce, we got Steph Diggs. And so, two kind of affected. Obviously, Steph is very good, but Baltimore and Madison, they're you can start them. Obviously, Baltimore, I think, is actually very good. I think he's probably better than Madison for their respective positions. So, and then Bruce with the bold call to put Jalen Hurts on his bench, starting CJ Stroud. Kyler Murray on the other side there, though. Man, this should be a fun match. I've got some very solid running backs, maybe some underrated running backs over here for Bruce. Kyler, I would say the quarterbacks are about equal, maybe slight edge to CJ. Stroud. He does have that Tank Dell guy though, and that's gonna be, if that stack goes off, that'll be real nice for Bruce. Solid tight ends. I mean, you got some really good teams here, both in the playoff contention for a reason. I'm going to go state here. I believe he can make a push, and this is just going to be one step closer. And if he does actually beat Bruce, he'd be one game back of him. So it's very advantageous for Caleb or State to win this matchup there. And I think he will. Which will bring us on to T-Corn versus Matt. Justin Fields on bye. T-Corn's going to have to change that, obviously. And then just looking at the rest of his team, Wandale probably weren't starting him, and the Buffalo Bills defense maybe weren't starting them. And then on the other side for Matt, Addison and Gus Edwards on bye. So guys you definitely want to start probably, but not necessary. And you've got a couple guys to play in his place or in their places. Very solid running backs over here for Matt. Obviously, T-Corn as well with that Gibbs McCaffrey stack. Man, I feel this might be close as well. I'm going to go Matt. What the heck? I think he can pull it out. He's got guys that can absolutely explode. Not to say T-Corn doesn't, because he absolutely does. But I think Matt will have himself a heck of a week. And he's rocking that triple tight end again. And it has, I think, worked out. So we'll see how that works out this week. Moving us on to our final matchup. Two teams in the hunt for the playoffs. Adam versus Abby. Abby at 6-6 and Adam at 5-7. Quickly check for bye weeks. We got Deonta Foreman, Saquon Barkley, Darius Slayton, Gabe Davis, and Isaiah Likely. Holy smokes for Abby. 5 players on bye. And then for Adam, Josh Dobbs, Josh Jacobs, a couple Joshes there. So the Joshes are on bye for Adam. But you still got good players in here. Running backs, definitely I would say favor Adam. You could argue the receivers do as well. Depends on your opinion of these guys. Obviously, that's all this is about, opinions. This could be a fun matchup. Pretty close, I would imagine. But I'm gonna continue to put my chip. Well, I guess not continue. I'm gonna bet. This is tough, I'm gonna go Adam here. I was gonna say Abby, but Adam's just got guys that can explode. So I think Adam's gonna get the victory here, and that'll do it for this week's matchups. Before we end, I just want to quickly. I am in another league, and I just want to quickly tell you, it's quite funny actually. The guy I'm facing is on. You thought some people in this league were on bye? Hell, get a load of this guy. He has. I'll just name the players on bye. Lamar Jackson, DJ Moore, Jordan Addison, Gus Edwards, Gus Edwards, Keaton Mitchell. So quite a few guys, and he currently has most of them still in his lineup. I'm kind of hoping he doesn't realize that, because I set my lineup. So I currently have a 95% chance to win. Kind of hoping it stays that way. I mean, my team is pretty good in this league, so it's not like I super need the league or need the win. Currently tied for the best record at 9-3. So I actually am pretty good at fantasy. Just this league, I've been unlucky with those matchups. So anyway, I hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving. Hope everyone has a good week this week, except for Colin. But yeah, with that, thank you and